Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we settle down. We start. Bismillah. Please, as a reminder, everybody, please turn off your cell phones or any other devices that make noise. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. I believe this will be left off yesterday. I believe this will be left off yesterday, correct? Eric? Okay. So with that being said, just like yesterday, you can clearly see that the author, in actuality, he's not bringing you nothing other than the Quran and the Hadith. He's laying it out for you and placing it in order and simplifying it and categorizing it. So when we say Al-Yawm Al-Akhir, the last day, or Al-Qiyamatul Kubra, the major resurrection. Obviously, that's a very long day, an extremely long day, the length of which we may not be able to even understand as humans. So, of course, there are many different aspects that pertain to that day. When will that day be? What will happen during that day? What will be the state of the people on that day? All of these things are mentioned in the Quran al-Kareem and in the Hadith of the Prophet, all of them. But for them to be simplified, and for them to be categorized, and for them to be put into order, and for them to be laid out with the classical commentary, then that's a different story. It's like a pearl necklace. A pearl necklace. The most expensive thing on the necklace is obviously the pearls. But the pearls are of no use, or they're of use. You can't say they're of no use. They're of use, but it can't be a necklace unless it's threaded together. There has to be a thread. You understand this? And there has to be a clasp, or there has to be some type of way of closing it. So this is the Quran and the Sunnah. We have the dalil, the proof, the evidence, what Allah says, what His Messenger says. And that has to be laid out and simplified and categorized and broken down with the commentary. Everyone understand this? So it basically is, in brief, the day of judgment, and then he branches off the aspects and the angles and the dimensions of the day of judgment. The state of the people on the day of resurrection. In other words, in order and in categories. The kuffar, the munafiqun, the mu'minun. Everyone understand this? What's going to happen on that day? People are going to be happy. People are going to be terrified. People are going to be scared. People are going to forsake each other, etc. So this is all a part of your study and your course on Al-Aqidah Al-Islamiyah. And the specific branch or the specific genre is Al-Imanu bil-Yawm al-Akhir, belief in the last day. And from the belief in the last day is kada and this and that, and this is the proof. And this is the ayah, and this is what happened, and this is what we said, this is what the ulama agree upon that what happened on that day, and this is what the scholars of Islam differ on what will happen during that day. We know that the people will see Allah, but who will see Allah? Everyone, or just the believers? Or will the kuffar see Allah in the beginning, along with the munafiqun, and along with the believers, and then later on they won't see Allah a second time? Everyone understand this? So it's breaking it off, or breaking it down, branching it off, and categorizing it. Everyone understand what's going on? And this is how you study this book and any other book like this. And any other what? Book that's like this. Everyone understand this? This is the template. Because time is limited. Of course, obviously, my energy is limited. My ability is limited. And there are many things that you may have the desire and the appetite to learn and to study. That is what you have to do through your own time and your own efforts and other classes and other teachers. But I feel I would have accomplished my job and my mission if I gave you the key to get into the door. This is how you get in. Once you get in, that's your problem. But I taught you how to get in. You understand this? And I also taught you how to get out. What you do, what you take with you, what do you do in the room? That's your own personal business and discretion. How much energy you put in, how much time you put in, how smart you are, naturally, the talent that Allah blessed you with, how much skill you develop off of your talent, that's what? That's your duty, your responsibility. Because my time is limited, my energy is limited, and all 8 of my arms or tentacles are being pulled in a different direction all of the time. To one person or another. Friend, family, student, one person or another. So I can only, if I at best give you but what? So much. At best. If I want to give you more, I may not give you everything. Because you have to earn it yourself. And you have to appreciate and evaluate your what? Yourself. And you have to learn how to develop your own ability what? Yourself. Everyone understand this? So this is my teaching style. This is what? My teaching style. You ask me a specific question about something specific, that's a different story. We have time to sit to talk, that's a different story. You're a personal student of mine, that's a what? It's a different story. And even then, I still have the same methodology. So with that being said, the author says, state of the people on the day of resurrection. People's positions, cases will vary on the day of resurrection, as I just mentioned. There are those who are believers, there are those who are disbelievers, and then there are those who are believers. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jalla, He only mentioned 3 types of people in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. Because that's all there is. There's the believer, there's the disbeliever, and then there's the imposter. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He spoke about the believers for a few ayat. هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. That the Quran, of which there is no doubt, is a guidance only for the muttaqeen. Everyone understand this? And He's talking about the believers. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. Verily those who disbelieve, whether you remind them or remind them not, they will not believe. He's talking about the disbelievers who are open and outward with their kufr. We hate Islam, or the other way they say. We don't believe in God, they say. We don't believe in religions, they say. They're clearly in clear rejection of faith. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا. And then there are people who say we believe in Allah and in the last day. وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah says that they are believers not. And He's talking about the munafiqun. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He speaks about them all the way to the end of the passage. And when He talks about the similitude, مَثَلُهُمْ كَمَثَلِ الَّذِي اسْتَوْقَدَ نَارًا. He who lights a fire. And what happens when that fire is lit? And what happens when the light from that fire is taken away? Allah, He spoke about the munafiqun in the greatest length in Surah Al-Baqarah. And He spoke about the kuffar in the shortest length in Surah Al-Baqarah. And He spoke about the believers in the medium or middle length. And He spoke about the munafiqun in depth because they pose the greatest danger. And this is a very practical lesson that you can learn on life. The person who doesn't like you and they openly tell you that they don't like you, that's the least person that you have to worry about. Alhamdulillah, no problem. You don't like me? May Allah bless you. That's fine. But you have to worry about the person who smiles in your face. Assalamualaikum. Shake. And shakes your hand and gives you a hug. And in his heart, he may harbor ill feelings against you and conspire against you and hate on you on the down or the DL, as they say. That's the worst person. But the open enemy is clear, simple. You have your way, I have mine. Let's pray that our paths don't meet up. You say your way, I stay mine, no problem. Let us. We have our distance. But the one who's over your house, eating and drinking, alhamdulillah, mashallah, and he really hates you and has ill feelings against you, that's the person that you have to what? Worry about. Everyone understand this? So that's why Allah, He spoke about the munafiqun in the greatest length, because they pose the Muslims. Everyone understand this? I'm not saying that the non-Muslims don't pose a harm as well. Khairan, inshallah. So that's what we have. And that's all we have. Believer, disbeliever, hypocrite. In actuality, the hypocrite is a disbeliever as well. Everyone understand this? Fine. So each and every one of them have been spoken about in the Quran with regards to that day. We don't have time to mention every single thing. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, He talks about what the believers are going to go through on that day. وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ. Days, or on that day, faces will be like this. نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. Faces will be brilliant, they'll be bright, illuminated. And they will look at their Lord, subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the greatest joy of Jannah, is to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. is to see Allah. So therefore, Allah talks about the believers. And on other days, on other ayats, Allah talks about the disbelievers. Yawma, Allah says on that day, لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. They will be discreet from seeing Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, عَامِلَةٌ نَاصِبَةٌ تَصْلَاهَا. Allah says what? He says what? Finish the ayat. He's talking about the kuffar, the disbelievers. وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ. Faces on that day will be what? خَاشِعَةٌ. Downcast, humiliated. تَرْهَقُهَا قَتَرًا. With dust upon them. وَتَسْوَدُّ وُجُوهٌ. Faces on that day will be blackened. Ayah after ayah after ayah. That's talking about the kuffar. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla, He talks about the munafiqun and how they will be humiliated and how they will be afraid on that day, in which they see something and they think that it's safety, they think that it's salvation, and it's nothing there. I would understand this when they'll tell the believers, wait for us, naqtabis min nur, let us get some of your light. Things will be said to them and they will be humiliated and embarrassed on that day. So these ayat that just sporadically come into my head, I'm not mentioning all of them in order, just saying them to teach you the theology of understanding the Quran al-Kareem regarding chapter 8, the state of the people of what? Resurrection. So when you find Allah talking about they will be punished, they will be humiliated, there will be this, it's talking about either the kuffar or the munafiqun. The kuffar and or the what? Munafiqun. And when you read a verse in which there's something in which it isn't what it appears, it seems that it's going to be like this, but in actuality it's like that. In most cases, Allah is talking about the who? Munafiqun. It's a reward. إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَهُوَ خَادِعُهُم. That the hypocrites, they try to cheat Allah, but in actuality it's Allah what? Who cheats them. And that is the ultimate reward for someone who's treacherous. It's for you to string them along and let them think that they're getting over on you. I knew all along that you were a cheater or a traitor. I knew all along. But I let you think that you had the what? Upper hand on me. But in actuality, what? I have you. That's from the Kamal of Allah Azza wa Jalla. His perfect knowledge and hidden. Everyone understand this? Sifat Kamal. The perfect attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that His knowledge is ever infinite, encompassing all things. And from the greatness of Allah is that He allows people to think that they can outdo Him and to trick Him and to cheat Him. And He allows them and gives them respite. They think that they're actually winning, but Allah knows who's going to win on that day. And when you find the verses that talk about pleasure and happiness and splendor, or Allah, He talks about radiyah, the soul which is pleasing and pleased. Mardiyah, He's talking about the what? The believers. So this is all from this chapter, the state of the people on this day. And obviously there are specifics of that, your children, your brother, your wife. Obviously there are specifics of that with regards to debt. You owe me money, you oppressed me, you backbit me, you slandered me, you took my children away from me, you cut the ties of kin and kith. Alright, with regards to killing someone, murdering someone, talk about gun violence. You think it's cool to be involved with gun violence, but on that day, when the people will be asked, oh Allah, why did this person kill me? Why did he take my blood unlawfully? It's not going to be no fun on that day. There's not going to be no movie stars. There's no Clint Eastwood, or Godfather on that day. And this is very important for us to understand the culture, because people, they always talk about rap and rappers and music and musicians, the reasons behind gun violence, which is partially true. But that is a means of prejudice and discrimination in itself. Because most rappers and musicians, they take their names from who? Movie stars. But never ever do they ever debate on banning gangster movies or mob movies. Never. Have you ever seen one talk about Clint Eastwood or John Wayne? We need to ban these movies. Our children shouldn't watch Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny, which is one of the most violent cartoons if you sit down and think about it. The old Looney Tunes is extremely violent. Him and Elmer Fudd and Coyote and the Roadrunner, they have bombs and guns. Children watch those cartoons, and you don't think that is in the conscience of violence? But it's easy to blame the rapper. He's talking about killing, so let's ban his music. Let's not allow him to come to this country. Oh, he's telling people to kill people, which he is. But what about Clint Eastwood and John Wayne? Make my day. What about carrying a big, gigantic gun around? Gunslingers, the Wild Wild West. That's the true culture of gun violence, let alone cartoons. But that's from the hypocrisy of those people of the modern world. Totally hypocrites. They'll never talk about that. They'll never ban this mobster movie. But they'll give it 5 stars. And they'll give it all types of awards and accolades. It's a saga. But the rappers are what? They just talk about drugs, women, and guns, and that's it. But what about this movie? What's in Godfather? What's in Scarface? What's in this? What's in this epic saga? Except for killing people and raping people and taking people's wealth and it's romanticized. The Godfather. So there's just utter hypocrisy. So the point that I'm trying to get to is that there are many things that want to take place on that day. That's just a benefit on the side. It's just a benefit on the what? On the side. Is that people are going to be asked why they were killed on that day. People that were robbed and cheated out of their money. People that were slandered and backbitten. People that physically abused others. All of these things are going to take place on that what? On that day. That's the maqsood. And the same applies to the believer and the sacrifice of the believer. All of the things that you sacrifice in this dunya, you'll see the fruition of them on that day. And how Allah hid your sins from you in this dunya, hid your sins from the people. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, Allah will hide them on that day. And obviously the greatest disgrace is to be embarrassed on that day. ذَلِكَ الْخِزْيُ الْعَظِيمُ, Allah says. And He says that the hereafter, وَلَعَذَابُ الْآخِرَةِ أَخْزَى. Allah says even more humiliating. And they will not be helped on that day. So these are all consistent Quranic themes with regards to what's going to take place on the last day. Alright, so these are hadiths. The sun will be brought close to the people's heads on that day until the distance between it and them will be no more than 1 mile. Everyone understand this? Right. All similar. The categories, the dispute of the people of the fire, They'll dispute. They'll fight. They'll argue. And that's a very long discussion. With regards to leaders. The followers won't have anything to do with the followed. And the followed will distance themselves from their followers. That's the reality of that day. So you have to ask yourself the question, who are you following now? Who are you rallying behind now? And that love and that hero worship and that admiration that you have for this celebrity, what is going to take place on that day? Or that leader, or that president, or that imam, or that sheikh, or that chieftain. You have to ask yourself the question, who are you following? Who are you idolizing now? All of these things are going to take place on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And not only will it take place on the Day of Judgment, when they go to the hellfire, they'll also fight. كُلَّمَا دَخَلَتْ أُمَّةٌ, Allah says, whenever a nation enters the fire, لَعْنَتْ أُخْتَهَا, it will curse his sister's nation. They're already in the fire. What's the point of them arguing and fighting? That makes it even worse. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He tells us about وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. Surah Ibrahim, Allah says, and when the affair is established, meaning when the people of hell are in hell, and the people in paradise are in paradise, there is no more judgment. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ, it's done. The shaitan will say to the denizens of the fire, that Allah has promised you the true promise. And so did I. But the difference between me and Allah, you took me as your deity of worship. You worshipped me instead of worshiping Allah who made me. The difference between me and you is that Allah kept His promise. And obviously I didn't keep mine. I promised you long life. I promised you endless wealth. I promised you limitless pleasure. I promised that you won't have no worries. But I didn't keep my promise. And Allah, He kept His promise. If you obey me, you'll go to paradise. And if you disobey me, you'll go to the fire of hell. And the shaitan, he will scorn his followers. And he will give them much, much, much grief. وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا أَنْ دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي. He says, and I had no power over you. And the only thing that I did was call you. And you answered me. That's it. This is what the shaitan is going to tell his followers. He's going to declare to them that I have no sultan upon you. That I can't help you. وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُسْرِخِيَّ. He says, you can't help me, I can't help you. إِنِّي كَفَرْتُ. He says, indeed, I reject بِمَا أَشْرَكْتُمُونِ مِنْ قَبْلِ إِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ The wrongdoers will have a very painful punishment. Look at this. Some of the Salaf Salih, some of the pious predecessors, they said this ayah here in Surah Ibrahim, it is the sermon of shaitan. That the shaitan will give you a khutbah. And then some of them say they have a pulpit of fire. And it will give a khutbah, an address to the people who are burning in hellfire. And they're already burning. Why is he speaking to them and talking to them? It goes to show you is that the physical punishment is only one aspect. But the psychological punishment and them hating themselves is far worse. Obviously Allah hating them. Just like the pleasures of Jannah. The physical pleasures of paradise is only one aspect of Jannah. But Allah loving the believers. Radiallahu anhu wa radu anhu. Allah being pleased with them. And they're with Him, that is. وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. And Allah Azza wa Jall's good pleasure is what? Is better. So the concept of hate and love is the foundation of this whole entire discussion. This whole entire discussion. Right, moving forward. The dispute of the followers and leaders, like I just said, huh? Go through it, you read it, you take the categories, the dispute of the body of with the soul, Ibn Kathir, Ibn Manda, all these different narrations, right? You read them on your own convenience, inshallah ta'ala. The arrogant, those who like to be arrogant, right? And Allah protect us from that. One who seizes land by force. Oh man. How many of us have that problem? Seizing land by force on a personal dispute in court, let alone countries that take other countries' land and steal their resources. And don't think that this is only stuck to physically taking somebody's land. You can take somebody's land, without violence. A briefcase is no less detrimental, than a nuclear weapon. You understand this? You can steal someone's country and steal someone's property with a briefcase. No more, dangerously than by violence. That's a long discussion, taking people's land. One who's two-faced here. How many of us have this problem? We smile on our brother's face and we hate them on the inside. You smile on your sister's face, Assalamu alaikum ukhti, but you talk about her behind her back. You make fun of her. She's this and she's that. She's dirty, she's poor, she's ugly. Her family, her children are like this, and she's this and she's that. It's a reality, The ruler who stays aloof from his people. How does that even apply in 2019? Does the ruler even make himself available for his subjects? Can you sit and talk and discuss your problems? You have to go through 50 million people just to send a letter. The one who begs when he has the means of being independent, asking for money which he doesn't need. Spitting towards the Qibla, all these different things, The one who lies about his dreams. I saw you in a dream, Sheikh. I had a dream about you. Inshallah, hopefully you did. And that you're not lying about it. I had a dream that I was doing this and I was doing that. Never lie about a what? About a dream. Be honest, be truthful. You either saw it or you what? Or you didn't see it. It's just that simple. Trying to be something that you what? That you're not. That's the core of the problem. Then they have the state of the pious. The people will be terrified of the day of resurrection, but the pious will not be terrified. The proof is from the Quran, those whom Allah will shade with His shade. And from them is the youth who grows up, obeying Allah from day one. You never drunk alcohol, or worshipped idols, or made zina, or no tattoos. I was pious and righteous from birth until my old age. That's a virtue of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And perhaps many of you can achieve that, inshallah. Bi'idhnillah. Those who show leniency to those who are in difficulty. Be easy. You don't got to be tough and harsh and rough on the people. Be easy. Be forgiving. Be forbearing. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla, He may do the same for you. Holding grudges against people unnecessarily. Those who are just in their judgments towards their families and in any matter which is entrusted to them. Amen. Be just to your wife, ya akhi. Don't be an oppressor. Do not be a tyrant. Don't think that Allah Azza wa Jal gave you your wife and she's your slave and your servant, and that you can control her and do anything and everything that you want to her. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who told her to obey you. It doesn't mean that she's your slave. It doesn't mean that she's not a human being. It doesn't mean that she's not a believing woman who's karima. She's supposed to have status. Be mindful of being unjust. Be mindful of being unjust to your children. Be mindful of showing favoritism to your children and not caring about favoritism among your children. Be mindful, Yahi, of allowing your son to have girlfriends and to sleep around. But you curse and you banish your daughter if she's caught talking to a boy. Be mindful of being extreme. Be mindful of that. Of preventing your daughter from getting married because the brother is not from your lineage or your race, or his skin is too light, or his skin is too dark, or his nose is too long, or his nose is too fat. Be mindful of this. Of preventing your daughter from marrying a righteous Muslim that she wants to marry. No, he's not from my family. He's not from my tribe. He's not from our country. You can't marry her. I don't care how righteous you are. I want you to know, nor do I care about my daughter's feelings. I could care less if she's happy or unhappy with her husband. As long as the formalities are upheld, that's all that matters. Even if my daughter's miserable and she's depressed and she tries to commit suicide and she's strung out on pills, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. This is our culture. We've been doing it for the past 500 years and want to keep doing it for the past 500 years. And if you don't like it, then hey. It's the mentality of most brothers today. Whether they verbalize it or whether they verbalize it with their actions. And I'm not talking about one nationality or one group or one race. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبِّي. Except for the people whom Allah shows mercy to. But the average brother, he thinks like this. He doesn't care. I can oppress someone, big deal. Countries, politics, governments, they have the same mentality. We can oppress the people, we don't have to give them their rights. We can take their money, give them scraps, let them live like dogs in the street. While we live in high palaces. And we have gold and pearls and the finest of the fine. It doesn't bother us at all. They're poor. They're meant to be poor. They're weak. They're meant to be taken advantage of. And oftentimes, when the poor people overthrow a government, or those who wish to be revolutionists, when they get the throne and they become in charge, they do the exact same thing. They have the same mentality. They fought for the people's rights, and then when they have control, they do the same thing as the tyrannical last government. It's all something which is a major means of punishment on that day. Not being just and being a zalim, making unjust judgment. The shuhada, the martyrs, and the murabitun, guards stationed at the borders of the Muslim state. There's no need to water this down. It doesn't mean this. Oh, if you die from that, you're a martyr too. That's not what it's been meant right here. A shuhada. Those who die on the battlefield. And those who stand guard protecting the Muslim land. This is a special reward for them. Those who control their anger. How many of us have anger problems? We curse. We get upset. We bang on the steering wheel. We divorce. We abuse our family members, our children. We fight because we can't control our anger. And anger is a major character flaw. If you don't use your anger properly, because anger is a very strong emotion. It's one of the strongest emotions. If it's used correctly, it can be like rocket fuel. It can push you to do good things. And if it's used incorrectly, it can also be like rocket fuel. It can cause you to combust, to blow up, to destroy yourself and to destroy others. So controlling your anger, channeling your anger is very, very, very strong thing. The anger controlling you and channeling you is also a strong thing. And there are people who kill or get killed because of their anger, and because of their ego, because of their pride. Don't be a fool. You understand this? Control your anger. Because you know that you love this sister and you divorced her for the third time. Sheikh Mufti, I divorced my wife for the third time. Can I take her back? I was angry. I didn't really mean it. I can't help you, Akhi. I'm sorry. You divorced her and you knew what you were doing. Who divorces their wife smiling and laughing? Everybody's always what? Angry. So you knew what you were doing. And you were warned. And you know you had 2 divorces already. I can't help you. You have to get a fatwa from somebody else. Everyone's going to say, angry. I blacked out. I didn't know. Talaq al-ghadban. Nah. It doesn't work like that. And this is from the dangers of anger, in which it controls you. And then after you cool off and you calm down, then you realize, whoa, what just happened? Or the opposite. It's not just about the brothers, sisters as well. You may say something to your husband. You never did nothing for me. You're a horrible husband. You're never there for me. You never give me this. You never take care of me. And that statement that you say may hurt your husband's feelings. And you may never ever forget that you have no value and appreciation for him. And then you say, you know, I was just angry, I was upset. Well, you shouldn't have said that. Because now I don't want to talk to you. Or I don't want to be lovey-dovey with you. I'm not buying you anything. I'm not taking you anywhere because I don't do anything for you. Anger is dangerous. It causes people to do things and to say things that 99% of the time, afterwards, they regret. And you say, why did I say that? That was stupid. That was dumb. That is the purpose of controlling yourself. Seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the reasons why it is such a virtuous and excellent thing. Because it takes a great deal of jihad an-nafs to control your anger. And as Hafiz bin Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala explained in Fath al-Bari, based off of the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, La taghdab, don't become angry. And the man asked again and again, and the Prophet again and again said, don't become angry. He said that some of the ulama of Islam, they say that the secret behind anger being so dangerous is that anger is oftentimes based off of kibr, it's based off of pride, and it's based off of ego. I can get angry because I have an ego and I have pride. What's that pride based off of? What is that pride leading to? And oftentimes people only get angry at people that they have the ability or the upper hand over. They have the upper hand over. A fake tough person. He gets angry and he growls at people that he knows he can beat up. But let it be someone that's what? Bigger and stronger than him. He won't what? He doesn't get angry as much. He controls himself. Because his kibud is going to get himself what? Everyone understand this? So that's very, very dangerous concept of being angry. Those who free Muslim slaves. Among the righteous deeds which will enable a person to overcome the difficult obstacle of an day of resurrection is freeing slaves. So when people talk about Islam and slaves and slavery, and Islam wishes to make the people slaves, and there are sex slaves and there are concubines in Islam. Oh, ma malakat aymanukum, with your right hands possess. How can Islam allow slavery? So on and so on and so forth. If you say that, pray it. Okay. Where did you read that there's slaves in Islam and there's slavery in Islam? Where did you find that? Did you read the Quran? Did you read the hadiths? Or are you getting from a second and fourth and fifth person? If you read it in the Quran, then that's good. That's what I want. I want you to read the Quran that says slaves. And I'm also going to show you other verses in which Allah talks about freeing slaves. And I'll show you other hadiths in which the Prophet ﷺ gave the importance of manumitting a slave and the treatment of a slave, etc. Regardless whether we can agree on slavery or not, good or bad, that's not the point. But the point is either you're going to give all of the information or you're only going to give nothing. Don't just mention one aspect of slavery in Islam and ignore 10 other aspects. I would understand about being in a debate, defending Islam, debating Islam. You have to be able to take them to somewhere where they're not ready to be taken. I would understand this. Most people, they only have one aspect of it. And they themselves didn't even read the Quran to find it. You understand this? The Prophet did this. He killed this person. The first step is, where are you getting this from? Tell me your source. He says right here, Sahih Bukhari, volume 2, page 50. Okay, no problem. On page 51, did you read this hadith? In which the Prophet let this enemy go, and he forgave this person, and he allowed this person to walk free, and he manumitted this person. Why didn't you mention that as well? You understand? And you intellectually embarrassed them. You intellectually what? Embarrassed them. And you show them that the sweetest of the two is bitter. Either you're lacking in your scholastic research, and if you are, then you have no right to talk about a religion that's been practiced for 1,000 years all around the world, and you can't even research properly. Or you knew about it, but you conveniently hid it. So that also proves that you lack scholastic integrity. And in the academic world, the sweetest of the two is what? It's bitter. You can't be accepted. Your research is insufficient. No one has to listen to you. Your research is biased. And it's only based off of what you want and your agenda. And the academic world is also of no what? No value. Next. Everyone understand this? This is hikmah. Moving forward. Very long chapter, the virtue of the muaddins, making the call to prayer. Those who go gray, go old in Islam. And as a note, as a fa'idah, this under any circumstances does not pertain to not putting henna in your beard and your hair, as many people mistakenly think. They have gray beards or gray hair, man or woman, and they say, I don't want to put in henna because I want to have a gray hair in Islam. I want the virtue of having. That is not what's meant by this hadith. What's meant by this hadith is growing old. Whether you have gray hair or not. And you put henna in your hair, Allah knows that your hair is still what? Gray. And your hair will grow and you get the little white or gray tips, and the rest of it is brown, red, or brown, etc. Henna and ketam is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sunnah. Should be done. If you have a gray hair, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't put henna in it. Everyone understand this? That's incorrect. It's a misunderstanding of that hadith. The virtue of wudu. When's the last time you thought about this when you made wudu? When's the last time you actually thought about it, sat down using the sink? This is a means of this and this virtue and this hadith. Or we just make wudu because it's time to pray. How many from among us actually sit down and think about these hadiths when we perform wudu? A small deed that means so much and goes so far. Chapter 9, Ash-Shafa'a, intercession. Now this is obviously a big long topic, and many people, they get this messed up, they get it wrong. Shafa'a is a major means of bid'ah. People make all types of bid'ah when they speak about shafa'a. And unfortunately, many people fall into shirk, associating partners with Allah because of shafa'a. And it all comes from not understanding the intention of Allah and His Messenger. Not understanding the intention of Allah and His Rasul. هذا منشأ الخطأ. That's the foundation of the disease and of the curse of shirk and of bid'ah. Everyone understand this? طيب, inshallah we have a volunteer to read for us in English. Any volunteers? تفضل أخي.
Chapter 9, Ash-Shafa'a, intercession. When the distress of the people in that great gathering grows intense, they will search for a long time in the high status for someone to intercede for them with their Lord, that they may come to pass judgment, and the people may be relieved of the distress and terrors of the gathering. So I think Father Adam, alayhi salam, to undertake this great mission, and they will remind him of his virtue and how Allah honored him. But he will refuse and make excuses. He will mention how he disobeyed his Lord by eating from the tree from which Allah forbade him to eat. And he will refer them to Noah, alayhi salam, the first messenger whom Allah sent to mankind, whom Allah called a true slave. He will refuse and make excuses. By affirming his words, Lord and Master. He will refer them to the mighty messengers who came after them, and each of them in turn will refer them to the ones who came after him, until they come to the last messenger.
Alayhi salatu wasalam.
Whom Allah forgave all his past and future sins. So he occupies a position for which the earlier and latter generations will praise him, and his great and high status will thereby be made manifest. He will ask his Lord for permission, which will be granted, and he will praise and glorify him, and ask him with regard to his ummah, and his prayer will be answered. That is because Allah granted each prophet a prayer for his nation, which will not be refused. Every prophet hastens to offer that supplication in this world. When the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said his prayer for that great gathering from this ummah, and he supplication.
طيب. Ash-Shafa'a, intercession. Ash-Shafa'a is very simple to understand. Allah says, Wal Fajr, Walayalin, Ashrin, Washafi, Wal Watr. So we have two things, Shafi' and Watr, or Witr. We have Ad and we have Eden. 2 verses 3. 4 verses 5. Very simple. But the lowest or the least, obviously, is 1 verses 2. 1 verses what? 2. So 1 is even or odd? Which one? It's an odd number or even. We differ on this? 1 is a what number? And 2 is a? Type. So you have 1 thing that's good and 2 things that are good. Hypothetically, you would always want what? 2. More is better. The more the merrier. Hypothetically, you said. Hypothetically. So therefore, I have a person who's begging and asking for something. And I have another one who may beg and ask for a thing. both of them combined, begging and asking, may have a stronger impact than just one of them begging and asking. Especially if the second one who's begging and asking has some type of virtue and some type of status. And we're talking about human beings, worldly sense, some type of favor or weight or worth over the next person. So, what's your name, Akhi? You in the blue and white. Huh? Qadir. So you ask me, you say, Mufti, write me a letter of recommendation for Medina. Right? Write me a letter of recommendation for what? For Medina. And I tell you, Jazakallah khairan akhi, may Allah bless you. I would love to have you go to Medina, but I'm a little busy right now. And inshallah, let's see what happens. Maybe you can go to your local imams. I.e., in street terms, I'm trying to do what, Mujib? I'm doing what with them? Spinning them. I'm trying to gently, humbly tell them what? I can't write you a letter. I'm sorry. I barely know you. And if I did know you, why should I write you a letter? How many people ask me to write letters? Why should I put my neck out and stick my reputation on the line for someone that I barely know? So I tell you in 100 words, politely, Jazakallah khairan, I really can't write it for you. I'm sorry. No problem. He's one or two people. He's only one person. And then later on, I get an email. And the email comes from Sheikh Abdul Aziz, Abu Umar. And he says, hi, Abu Ramla, did Brother Qadir contact you, or did he ask you for something? Qadir, who's Qadir? Remember the brother you had on Ottawa? I said, oh yeah. He asked me, he says, listen, that's my brother-in-law. He's married to my sister, or I'm married to his sister. You understand? Inshallah, can you for him? So I'm going to write you a letter, not because I believe that you should get the letter from me, but if we're talking about human beings now, I'm too shy to tell Abdul Aziz no. I'm too what? Too shy. Because Abu Umar Abdul Aziz is cool with me. He does favors for me. He helps me out. I may do a favor for him. I contact him, so on and so forth. We have mutual love and respect. So I do something for you, not because of you, but I do something because of who? Abdul Aziz. Everyone understand this? So he did what? Shafa'at. He interceded for you. He put in a good word for you. And I have no relationship with you. I can care less about you going to Medina. That's not my concern. But Abdul Aziz being angry with me and upset with me, my brother-in-law needs you to help him out. You can't help him out. That's of my what? My concern. Everyone understand how it works? Someone putting in a good word for you. Listen, I know it's against the rules, but I really need you to look, that's my brother-in-law, inshallah. Take care of him. He's a good guy, Mufti, don't worry. Trust me. I don't know him, I don't know if he's a good guy, but I know Abu Umar, and I trust his, what? Judgment. So he interceded for you. So you and Abdul Aziz are now Shafi' wala witr? 2. 2 is a what number? It's even, not ahad. It's an even number. When he came to me as an odd figure, he got what? No tazkiyah. He came to me with an even number and he got what? He got the what? He got what he wanted. Are we understanding this? So this is the human being's understanding of intercession. Whether it's something which is illegal, you're too old, or I normally wouldn't do it for you, but I'm doing it for someone else's sake because of the status of that someone. Everyone understand this? This is how it works. When it comes to humans, it may be someone that I can't tell no. Let's say, not Abdul Aziz, someone that I can't tell no. Let's say someone that I've known for 20 years. Someone helped me get into the university. I can't tell him no. I have to do it for his sake. If not, our relationship will be sour. And then you benefit from it, obviously. So that's the human. The human can do it out of love and respect for the one who intercedes. Or the human could do it because he needs him and he doesn't have the ability to tell him no. You understand this? Obviously, Allah Azza wa Jal, He needs no one. Wallahu huwal ghaniyyu wa antum. Allah is the ever self-sufficient. He's the most rich, Azza wa Jal. He needs none of us. We are poor. So Allah doesn't need anyone. But Isa alayhi salam, Adam alayhi salam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this righteous Muslim, they have a status. وَكَانَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَجِيهًا. Allah says in that he had a what with Allah? Wajah, he had prestige with Allah Azza wa Jal. So we believe that the prophets have a high status with him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. لو أقسم على الله لأبره. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, رُبَ مَدْفُوعٍ بِالْأَبْوَابِ. Maybe someone who can barely come in. You stand out there, you wait out there. أشعث أغبر. Dirty and dusty looking, not of high worldly status. مدفوع بالأبواب. He can barely come into the chamber, the parliament. He can't even come into the hall. You wait outside. You do what? You wait outside. And if he asked by Allah Azza wa Jal, if he asked Allah for something, then Allah will what? La barrahu, Allah, he would give it to him. Meaning because of his what with Allah? His prestige, his status. Allah loves him and Allah honors him. So this is the concept of a shafa'ah. Is that on that day, everybody is scared, everybody's afraid, everybody's terrified. And there are going to be different ways and different things that the people are going to use to free and deliver themselves from Allah's wrath, of which there's no more denying. There's no rejection on that day. There is no kufr and iman on that day. Everybody sees it. You understand this? Everybody what? Everybody sees it. The believer and the kafir on that aspect will be what? Equal. There is no more ghaib. It's in your face, heaven and hell. What we denied and rejected is now in front of us. What we believed in and accepted, even though we didn't see it, or it wasn't scientifically proven, is now what? In front of our face. So the people, they're going to try to save themselves and also going to try to, get to paradise. More specifically of them saving themselves from the wrath and from the punishment. So they're going to do certain things. Money, children, take him instead of me, etc. And from the things that they're going to do on that day is they're going to ask people to put in a good word with Allah for them. They're going to beg other humans to speak to Allah to save us, to protect us, to deliver us, or at least in the beginning to commence judgment. That's what a shafa'ah is. Everyone understand this? It's asking Allah for something through someone else. You understand this? So we have one person with another person. That's two people. That's not an even number. So one person is asking Allah for something, and the second person asks Allah for something. The second person has a higher with Allah Azza wa Jalla. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He honors that second person, honors his request, and forgives that sinful slave who deserves to be punished. Everyone understand this? Or who puts the slave in Jannah, which others may deserve to go first, or whatever the case may be. Or save this person from the hellfire. Everyone understand this? Or level up someone's rank in Jannah. There are different types of intercession. There are different what? Different types of shafa'ah. But this is, I want everyone to understand what it is. Because many people, they don't know what it is. They don't truly understand it, and they don't have it broken down tangibly like this. The basics of what it is. Everyone understand this or not? This wali, this sheikh, he has no special powers. He himself is also doing what? He's begging. He's asking. He's what? He's asking. He is a servant himself. Everyone understand this? And the same applies to the worldly life. The same applies to the worldly life. This person who you want to get you into this university, this college, he has to beg someone too. But he doesn't have to beg like you have to beg. His begging may just be a phone call or a text message. His begging may be him pointing to you. Hey, Nafis. Job. So when you go up to Nafis, is what? Come on. You understand this? But at the same time, I'm still doing what with Nafis? What am I doing? I'm begging. I'm asking him for something. I'm lowering myself. I'm asking him to do me a favor. Everyone understand this or not? So if you understand the concept of shafa'ah, then you automatically know that the one who's making the intercession is also a servant of Allah. Because he's asking Allah Azza wa Jalla. He's a servant. And if he's a servant of Allah, then we've automatically excluded his what? It's a simple equation. No, we haven't excluded. No, we're not. We haven't excluded his prestige. And we've proven that he's asking, and asking is an act of what? Worship. So if he's worshiping, that means he's a what? He's a worshiper, a slave. And if he's a slave, then that automatically excludes what? He cannot be worshipped. You understand this? He cannot be what? Worshipped. The proof that he can't be worshipped is that he himself is worshipping. So the core essence of shafa'a negates and abolishes shirk. Everyone understand the importance of understanding the Quran, the importance of critically understanding the words of Allah Azza wa Jalla with regards to your aqidah. These people, they don't even understand what shafa'a is. I want to slaughter a goat, slaughter an animal, I'm going to make tawaf, I'm going to give some service to this wali, to this saint, and then he'll take my worship up to Allah. He'll take my supplication to Allah on that day. So look at the equation now. I'm going to worship a worshiper who's going to worship Allah for me. That in itself goes against the basic foundation of La ilaha illallah. You understand this? So there is no worshipping someone asking for Allah's shafa'ah. Even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because the Prophet Muhammad is a what? Worshipper. And how do we know he's a worshipper? Is that he did what? He worshipped. He prayed to Allah. He begged Allah. Everyone understand this? So it's a very simple equation. It's a very simple what? Equation. Asking is worship. Worship is only for the one who has created the rest of the worshippers. So anyone that you worship besides Allah, it proves that you have some type of belief that they are supernatural as well. Everyone understand the aqidah of shirk and tawheed now? And this is why shafa'a is such a crucially important topic that has to be spoken on and discussed and critically and meticulously analyzed and broken down. Because they're all over the world you go, there are people who are making shirk with Allah under the name of shafa'a. And I have met many Muslims on Hajj. You think that they're modern Muslims. You think that they're, he has a bed or a thobe, he's on Hajj, he's living in New York City, and he may come up to you and says, yeah, Sheikh, I have a question about shafa'a. Can we get shafa'a from the Prophet Muhammad? Can we ask for shafa'a right now in Mina? I've heard, or where I come from. And you would never think that these people have these misconceptions. And that's because they're still practicing, or not practicing, but they still have those cultural understandings of Islam that have not been totally weeded out. And that is the importance of classes and lectures and seminars. And that aqidah has to be weeded out. And don't ever underestimate the power of culture. You may find somebody wearing something or something in their house or something on the table. Oh, I just have it from my country. And it's a means of superstition. Or they may have misconceptions and misunderstandings about the basics of tawheed because they never put in the necessary effort to learn the correct creed of Islam that is not pertaining to cultural values. Are we understand this? So that's what a shafa'a is. It is a brief breakdown of how the shafa'a is basically going to work. But he mentions the proof for this. Every prophet is granted one supplication for his nation, but I've postponed my supplication in order to intercede for my ummah on the day of resurrection. Alright? The hadith of the prophets, they will go to Adam. Adam will say, I did it. I obey Allah, I ate from the tree. Nuh alayhi salam will say, I made dua and my whole entire nation was drowned. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam will say that I lied 3 times. I said that I was sick. I said that she was my sister. And I said that the big idol did it. Look at the piety of the prophets. All of those times that he lied, it was for the cause of Allah. He lied fi sabilillah. He lied to protect the deen and protect the Muslims. But he still looked down upon himself and considered those lies for Allah's sake as being sins. There's some of us, we do worship and we think we're doing Allah a favor. We're helping out Allah. Allah needs us. I'm doing the religion a favor. I'm doing you a favor by teaching you. No, that's not true. That's not true. So the prophets were humble people. And then obviously after Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, they would go to Musa. And they would say to Musa, Ishfa' lana ila rabbika, ala tara ila ma nahnu fihi. Don't you see the mess that we're in? And the hellfire, they're not in the hellfire yet. They're just standing, terrified. And they would ask Musa for help. Go to Allah and ask. Because Musa has a prestige, has status with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah, He wrote the Torah for you with His own hand. Allah, Kalim, He gave you the speech directly. It's prestige with Allah. And Musa would say, Inni qataltu nafsan lam umar bi qatliha. He says, I committed manslaughter. I killed someone that I wasn't told to kill. Even though Musa made tawbah. And he wasn't a prophet at the time. And Allah guided him after that. But he still looks down upon his what? Everyone understand this? And he looks big at his sin. The hypocrite looks at hypocrisy like a fly. You know, just brush it off. No one is afraid of being a hypocrite except that they're a believer. And no one is safe from being a hypocrite except that they're what? A hypocrite. Munafiq. He has no fear. And then they will go to Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. After Musa says, I can't help you, go to someone else. And Isa won't mention any sin. Isa alayhi salam, he won't mention a sin. There's no sin that he'll bring up that he made or mistake. And he'll say, go to Muhammad, a slave once more, whom Allah Azza wa Jal has forgiven for all of his sins. مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنبِهِ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ. That's your man. That's the one that can help you out. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Muhammad alayhi sallam will go and he will ask Allah and beg Allah and praise Allah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will begin and commence the judgment. You're not saved from hell yet. You're not in Jannah yet. But Allah will now begin the what? The judgment. Just think how scary that is. You may still go to the fire of hell forever. But it's so terrifying that you just wanted to what? Begin and start. So this is what he's mentioning here in this chapter. So they will come to me and I will say, I am able for it. Then I will go and seek permission from my Lord and he will grant me permission. On the day of resurrection comes, people will be milling around. And then they will come to Adam and say, intercede for your offspring. He will say, I am not able for that. What happened to the different versions of this hadith? So I believe we're going to stop here. Then he talks about, there's more hadiths proving it, or all we just said, explaining it. More verses, more proofs and evidences about intercession, how the hadith about the greater intercession are interpreted, what's meant by that, etc. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. And then it's him that we ask to bless us all, to forgive us all, and to guide us all, and allow us to prepare ourselves for that great day.